Good evening. I would like to call the Hope County School Board meeting to order, please. And I would like to call on Ms. Keisha Gill to give us our invocation.
Wait, that you bow your heads,
Oh,
please.
you need a microphone.
Father God, we thank you for this meeting on this evening, Lord. We thank you for how you allow us to come together for another meeting, Lord. As we begin our meeting, Lord, we ask that you bless our new members, Angela, Reuben, and Catherine, Lord, as well as myself and Rosa. Ask that we stay together, be together, and we unite as one. We thank you for how, as we come together, Lord, that we do things for the best interest of this district, Lord. Lord, we ask that you help us to, we may not think alike or do things alike, but at the end, we come together as one. Lord, we thank you for Dr. Dallas and the cabin. We thank you for all the community, the parents, the staff, anybody that I left out. We thank you for everybody that is here on this evening, Lord. We thank you and we praise you and we give you all the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that awesome invocation. We will now turn it into the hands of our clerk of court, Ms. Evelyn McLeod. You want to call on the family members? You need the family members to stand by you? They can come on up.
You coming here?
Yep. Stand by you. Catherine, want to say something?
Do you want them a little paired? Do you want them up closer so you can use the mic? We'll scoot up a little bit once we get everybody gathered. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you guys to take some steps forward so we can get closer to the podium.
I'm going to say, I will state your name, and then I will read your oath, and when I finish, you will say what you do. And then I go to my 3 different parts of life. You would raise your right hand.
Do you need a mic?
Do you need the mic so everybody can hear? Yeah.
If you put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. I'm going to, she's going to, she's going to, just raise your right. Okay.
Okay, 1 second. We'll get this.
You going to burn?
I'm gonna affirm.
Okay.
Sorry.
We will get everything.
Left hand bowed and raise your right hand. No one's just going to, you just raise your right hand. I'm going to state I, and you state your name, okay? And I will read the oath. I,
Reuben Castellon,
do solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the constitutions of the United States. So help you God, or this be your solemn affirmation. Answer.
I do.
I state your name, please.
Reuben Castellon,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities, which are to support, maintain, and defend the constitutions of the said state, not inconsistent with the constitutions of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God, or affirm. After I finish, you answer, okay? I state your name.
Ruben Castellon.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that you would well and truly execute the duties of your office for the Hope County School Board of Education according to the best of your skills, ability, and according to the law. So help you God, or this be your solemn affirmation.
I do.
Congratulations.
Can we just do a few pictures? Nobody leave yet. Get y'all together. We're gonna do some individual family, then I want to do, one with just the 3 new board members. Are we all together? Good? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. And new board members will stay right there on one of y'all already. Can you cast it on one side a little bit? All right, there we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 new board members. Let me get you right now. I'm gonna slide a little bit this way and get it quiet. There we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Next on the agenda is the selection of the board chair. I will turn it over to our attorney, Ms. Carolyn Murphy.
So it's now time for us to elect the board chair. It's now open to accept nominations. Nominations do not need to be seconded. They can be made by any board member at any time.
I make a motion to elect Ms. Angela Sutherland to chair.
Are there any other nominations for chair?
I'll make a motion to elect Lisa.
Rosa? Any other nominations? Hearing none further, I'll close the nominations. We received the nomination from Ms. Sutherland first, so we'll vote on Ms. Sutherland first. If that gets the majority of the vote, then we will not vote on the second nomination. All in favor of Angela Sutherland as chair, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, didn't see it. Can we do that one more time? I saw 3 ayes. Was there a nays?
Nay.
Okay, thank you.
Nay.
All right, Ms. Sutherland, congratulations.
Congratulations.
We'll now take the nominations.
Do you want to go move first? Or do you want to wait?
Either way.
Let's go ahead and have you, sorry. Levi, you're good.
Okay.
Congratulations, man.
We'll now take nominations for vice chair.
I move to elect Keisha Gill as vice chair.
Are there any other nominations?
I move to elect Ms. Catherine Blue.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close the nomination. All in favor of Ms. Keisha Gill, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that failed with a vote of 2 to 3. All in favor of Ms. Catherine Blue, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations, Ms. Blue. You're up.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
So at this time, I'd like to have our new chair give her an opportunity to address our group, our board.
Again, good evening to everybody. I just want to say thank you again for giving me an opportunity to serve. I look forward to serving the whole board as a team. I look forward to serving your children, our children, in the community. So thank you again.
We will have our new vice chair, Ms. Catherine Blue.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for your support. I thank you most of all for your prayers. We are in this for the village. I thank you for this opportunity to serve. We are servants and we are here to make a difference. Thank you.
So I'm gonna kind of help you get there. So this time we'll have the chairman's report. So as a new chairman, is there anything that you would like to share? Anything you've attended or anything like that, just for the betterment of the group? If not, it's okay. Okay. Yep. So now we will move to the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the agenda for December 13th.
Should need a motion. So we need-
I'll second. I'll second.
Madam Chair, if you could put that to a vote.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for the agenda to be passed in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the agenda is approved. At this time, we're gonna turn it over to our superintendent. We're on item number 8, spotlight on success.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and members. This evening, we have 2 items for Spotlight on Success. Our first recognition is Sandhope Early College High School for the 21-22 outstanding graduation rate. So at this time, I would like Ms. Colleen Pigram-White to come forward. And if you would like to present her with this. And
When we think she here.
yeah.
Don't worry about it, they messing up all.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Peggy. Okay, this is a certificate of achievement 2021-2022 presented to Sandhope Early College High. Hope County Schools for achieving outstanding graduation rate of 97.9%. Congratulations.
I'll continue to put it on your earring. Don't put it on your earring. There you go. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Say a few words.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for the support. San Hope is always struggling to be 100%. That is our goal. Anytime you're less than 100%, somebody got left behind. So we have to constantly work on it and keep our focus on graduating every student in Hope County to be college career ready for life. So thank you for your continued support.
Our second item for Spotlight on Success is the artwork that is displayed at the Board of Education, and this month's display was provided by Sandy Grove Middle School. So we'd like to thank Sandy Grove Middle School.
At this time, we're going to have public comment, and we're going to turn it over to our attorney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 2 members of the public who have signed up for public comment. I want to remind people that you have 3 minutes. We ask that all comments be regarding particular individuals, student records, or other matters that are required to be confidential be shared at another time and not be part of discussion in this open forum setting. All comments must be respectful and civil to ordinary rules of order and decorum. I will be the timekeeper and will let you know when you get to the end of your time if necessary. And our first public commenter today is Mr. Harry King.
Okay, good evening, board. My name is Harry King. I'm a civics teacher at Hope County High School. Topics of concern. The first one is our bus issue. As a school teacher here at Hope County High School, our kids are coming into class sometimes 30 minutes to an hour late in the morning. This is a major safety issue with our open air campus. A solution I'm offering to the board is to flip the schedules between elementary and secondary schools. High school drop-off between 7:15 to 7:45, students arrive. Attendance is done no later than 8:05 to account for those students on campus. Again, reduce class time by 10 minutes and get back to the original block schedule of 90 minutes. Students are done by 2:30. Possible reasons for this change: logistics. All buses take major routes to get high school students to the school with the help of elementary school bus drivers. These drivers have shorter routes and can finish faster. Safety. Elementary school students standing out at the dead of morning is not a safe situation. Working class parents utilize the after-school programs for tutoring at elementary kids. If they're getting out at 3:40, have approximately 2 hours of extracurricular activity time instead of 3 if most parents are getting off at 5:30 to 6 o'clock. High school age kids are dropped off first, and they now have the ability to watch their siblings from elementary school. High school athletics practices are completed at a reasonable hour, and students are not getting home by 9 to try and finish any homework and assignments when they're deadbeat tired. Now, high school athletes do not have to miss as much class time leaving to go to events if school is ended by 2:30. Any students that want to pursue a job also gives them an extra hour of work. Second solution, I guess, is to hire more bus drivers and then pay them more. Teacher longevity support, and this goes to the board and to the new board of members that joined us, created graduated county supplement program. First-year teachers enter at a 6%. Graduate them with a 2% increase every 5 years to a max of only 10%. That would be a positive incentive with teacher shortages looming. We need to consider something. Questions to the board. Are you planning another high school? As I drive around Hope County, our student population is about to explode. I do believe that we need to address Mr. Garvin Pierce and approach the state of North Carolina in trying to come up with some more emergency funding to help solve our safety issues for our open air campus. In my opinion, our students are very vulnerable.
Mr. King, you've reached the end of your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Melissa Swarbrick?
Can I hand out a flyer to? Good evening, I'm Melissa Swarbrick. I have been here before to talk to you about the Pet Responsibility Committee. I've spoken to the commissioners several times, and I've been told over and over that animal welfare is not an important issue here in Hope County. So today I'd like to talk to you about it from another perspective. The Pet Responsibility Committee in Moore County is alive and well. They go into every fourth grade classroom 6 weeks every year, and they're teaching kids responsibility, integrity, good judgment, citizenship, and public speaking, all kinds of things these kids need today. They're also teaching kids to be kind, to be good humans, and I think that we need a lot more of that around here. They're teaching kids how to read, how to write better. They have essay and poster contests. The winners get to read their results, their essay to the county commissioners at their December meeting. They also get to interact with the police in a positive way. Week 4 of the program, the police come with the canines and the search and rescue dogs and let the kids see what a positive impact the police have on our community. But the best part of this program to me is a little boy named Maurice who was scared to read in front of his classmates. They'd pick on him, but he was not scared to read to one of the therapy dogs. He started to flourish. Last year, he graduated top of his class from Pinecrest High School. You don't know whose life you might change with this program. So I'm asking you, please, talk to the commissioners. They keep saying they're going to talk to you about it and get this program going. We have 5 Hope County residents who've been trained to deliver this program right now. They're ready to go. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that ends public comment.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is consent agenda. The first one is approval of the minutes for November 10th, 2022.
Madam Chair, the consent agenda is all approved as a group. No comment by board members. If there's any, let me say that again. The consent agenda are items that are up for approval without discussion. If there's any of these 5 items that board members have questions about, you can make a motion to remove from the consent agenda, but otherwise the consent agenda is passed without comment.
I'd like to make a motion to remove the minutes for November 10th.
It's a motion on the floor to remove the minutes, November 10th, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, there's a the motion has been second. I'm sorry. There's a motion on the floor for the minutes to be removed, and it was second. How many agree? Any opposed?
I didn't see any votes on that. You want to ask if you're in favor, say aye.
Is anybody in favor of removing the minutes? Say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Any opposed? So the minutes will be removed.
Madam Chair, at this point, we have a motion on the remaining 4 items on the consent agenda, and we'll take the minutes separately. As an action item.
So it's a motion on the floor to take the minutes separately?
No, so you're looking for a motion for the consent agenda on the remaining 4.
The remaining
On the
4?
remaining 4.
Is there a second?
But we don't have a motion, you need to ask for a motion on the consent agenda.
Okay, I need a motion on the floor for the remaining 4 items.
I move that we approve the consent agenda
Okay, is there a second?
for 2, 3, and 4,
And 5,
and 5.
I second.
2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next on the agenda is action item.
be the minutes from the November that was removed from the consent agenda. You need to take those separately. So you can get a motion on that in a second, and then we can open it for discussion.
So we're gonna open it up for discussion for the 2022-2023 state budget amendment, number 3.
The second one is
The minutes?
Yeah.
Bring them back? Oh, okay.
discussion. We need to have a motion for approval.
You need a motion for approval of the minutes of November 10th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Is there a motion about minutes?
Yes,
Motion?
for November the 10th.
Yeah.
So do I need to speak?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have discussion happens after a motion is made.
Yeah.
So we need a motion and then a second, and we have discussion.
Okay, make a motion. Make a motion to.
Mhm.
Make a motion. Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for November 10th, 2022. All in favor?
There hasn't been a motion made yet. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yeah. I put it on the floor so we make it.
No. The chair doesn't make motions. The chair accepts motions from the board members. And there hasn't been a motion made in regard to the minutes yet.
Keisha was kind of working on a motion.
Yeah.
Making a motion to.
Keisha, do you have a motion about the minutes?
Yes, I want to make a motion about the November 10th, 2022 minutes as it relates to the, retention loan.
What's your motion? You have a motion to amend the minutes as
Yes,
drafted?
to amend, yes,
Okay.
I would like to amend those minutes.
To reflect what?
To reflect, when we did the vote, I agreed with the amount, but I didn't agree with the time frame that was supposed to be given, so I felt like there should have been 2 motions put out there. One to vote for the amount of money, and then the second motion to vote for the time frame, whether it's December 16th or January 13th.
It was only one motion.
It was only one motion, it was combined in one. So you was actually forced to either vote yes or vote no. You couldn't vote no, yes for half of it and no for the other half, because it was all put together.
Is the vote is recorded and accurate for you?
No,
Okay, and there's not a way to change the minutes?
or can we put it back on the agenda to talk about it? To discuss it? Because it made it look as if I voted against the whole thing. I didn't vote against the money, I voted against the time frame that it should have been given.
So you're asking, if I'm going to paraphrase your motion, a motion to amend the minutes as drafted for November 10th to reflect that you voted against it for the following, for the reason.
For the date,
For the
the
date.
time that is supposed to be given, not the money wise.
For the
The
time.
money was, I was in agreement with the money.
We need your specific language, your specific
Okay.
words that you want added to the motion, to the
So
minutes.
I would like to make a
On
motion.
Which page are we on? Of the minutes?
We are on page 2.
Page 2.
Wait a minute, hold on, I'm sorry. Wait a minute.
You're at 2 and 4.
Yes, page 2.
And the action item is on
Action
bus driver
item.
raise, or the retention.
Retention bonus C.
So you would So you're asking that your negative vote be recorded as negative for the time frame in which the retention bonus?
Yes. Yes,
Only.
yes, only.
We have a second?
Second.
Madam Chair, we would need to have a vote to approve the minutes as amended.
Yes. Yes, I'm finished.
So it's a motion on the floor for the minutes to be amended on November the tenth, from November the tenth, 2022.
Second.
It's been a made and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Next on the agenda is action item. Capital outlay fund and balance.
Okay, so thank you, Madam Chair and members. We have one action item for this evening. Action item 1 includes a request to utilize funds, the capital outlay fund balance for an upcoming project. Let me ask Dr. Chad Hunt, our Assistant Superintendent of Operations and Information Systems, and our Chief Finance Officer, Ms. Lanae Chavis, to come forward to please share more about this request.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. We'd like to present this request to use capital outlay fund balance. Currently, the Hope County Schools fund balance for capital outlay is $120,000 or $120,916. Last school year, or fiscal year 2022, the land at West Hope Middle School was sold to the NCDOT as part of the NC 211 or Highway 211 expansion project. The land was road access footage, which is directly in front of the school. The sale of this land allowed the Board of Education to increase the capital outlay fund balance by $97,308. During the previous school year or fiscal year 2021, the capital outlay fund balance was at $23,608. We are requesting to use these funds to refurbish the tennis courts at West Hope Middle School. The need to refurbish the tennis courts results from the site development plan for the Hope County High School on-site replacement project. The current tennis courts on the Hope County High School campus are located in an area that will be included in the on-site project. The current tennis courts on the Hope High School's campus will be relocated on the Hope County Schools campus as part of the on-site replacement project. So essentially, where the tennis courts are, those will be removed. Part of the new building will sit on top of those tennis courts, and those tennis courts will be relocated to a different site on campus. In order to ensure that the Hope County High School tennis teams have appropriate tennis courts to continue their matches and practices, the need exists to update the tennis courts at West Hope Middle School. The courts at West Hope Middle School were selected to be refurbished as opposed to East Hope Middle School due to its close proximity to the high school. These refurbished courts will serve as the practice and match site for Hope County High School tennis teams until the new tennis courts are completed on the Hope High School campus. These courts will remain accessible to students, staff, and community members in the future. Mr. Brigman, who is our athletic director, is currently obtaining 3 quotes from vendors to establish an approximate cost for this project. And currently, we anticipate the cost to be somewhere around $75,000 in that price range. On page 2, you can see the current conditions of the tennis courts that are at West Hope Middle School with the asphalt cracking and grass growing up in there. And the same thing on page 3 with that first picture. And then for your information, the very last picture has the relocation of the tennis courts on Polk County High School's campus after or during the on-site replacement project here on campus.
So let me ask you something. If we weren't doing this project, would we be looking at refurbishing this, tennis court? It should have been.
That has been a discussion in the past about trying to do that at the middle schools, to start to introduce tennis back into our middle grades in order to have tennis teams at those campuses. So that has been a topic of discussion.
But now we're doing it specifically because we're getting ready to get rid of tennis at the high school.
Yes, that's yes.
Okay.
I have a question. How did it get in this condition if we wasn't using it right, correct?
Correct.
So, I mean, how did it get in this condition? It's like, it's a lot of grass and it's like it's not in, yeah. So if we paying somebody to do that or we just let it go? That's my question. Because I just wonder how did it get in such bad condition? If it's grass and that you gonna touch it. I'm just saying, I don't know.
I honestly don't know when the tennis courts at the middle school have been used, and unfortunately, Mr. Bruce has left to go to a basketball game, and he's probably the only one that could answer when the tennis courts at the middle school have been used. Because the one that's in such bad shape is at West Hope Middle School.
But it's okay. My question wasn't answered, but it's okay. Because we're.
How it got to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and unfortunately, yeah.
We have to kind of probably talk to Mr. Brittany here and to be able to give us a little bit of history of the courts.
Do you think Ms. McLeod would know? Ms. McLeod?
Yes.
The tennis courts at the West Hope Middle School.
Yes,
So you know when they were used last?
I've been there 15 years and they look like that since I've been there. I was practicing for years to have our courts refurbished, and what you all are discussing tonight, I had no clue
Get it approved first.
So I was here at several meetings here where we talked about the high school project. So just refresh my memory. So we don't have a tennis court in the high school project?
We do, but the problem is where the existing courts are, that's actually the main site for where the new building will be located. So until the building's relocated or built, they can't move those tennis courts. So that's part of the project. So to allow our tennis teams to keep playing, we need to give them a place in order to have their practices and their matches so that we don't have to move all of our tennis matches, girls and boys, to an away site at all times. So we wanted to give them a location where they can continue to play and continue to practice. And at the same time, then it would be open to the community, just like the ones at the high school are.
So just so I'm clear, the high school project is going to have a tennis court.
Yes, similar to what it
And
has
this
right
is just
now.
a temporary until the project is finished.
It's temporary for the high school team to be able to access it, but it's not temporary in a sense it will be there for the community to use. We just need to have a spot where teams can go to play and practice. We don't want our students to have to always be going off-site to practice or play.
So what's the timeline of the project?
For those courts would be towards the end of this year.
I am absolutely in agreement with it. I think that if we're gonna spend the money, we need to take the time to maintain it.
Yes.
Because you get the money to do the project and you get it laid out, but then after time go by, we may not have a tennis team but then we forget about the tennis court and it goes back to the way it used to look. So I think that we need to come up with a plan to maintain that tennis court, you know. Make sure that someone is out there maintaining and making sure that if it's a crack, that we making sure we own it. You know, we're not just letting it go and then we don't waste the money and then we got to spend more money to redo it. Yes.
And Dr. Dallas will be, because we don't have a tennis team at either school, correct? At either middle school, correct?
Correct.
So will it be open up to the community at that point?
Yes, those courts will always be open to the community, just like the courts right now at the high school, they're open to the community.
Right.
So we would want those to be open to the
Open to the
community as well.
community.
So the only reason why this is not being used by the public is because of the condition it's in right now? Is it safe
It's
to say
really
that?
not set up right now to be able to play tennis, yeah.
Madam Chair, if I may clarify too, this is just, they're just seeking approval for the concept of this project. The selection of the vendor to be used will need to be approved by the board. And a contract that will be used with the vendor will also need to be specifically approved by this board. So this is just approving them moving forward with continuing.
So are we just approving the project or we're approving the funding?
You're actually approving the capital outlay fund, and you have to approve it for us to move the fund balance for us to move forward.
That's the first
But it
step.
doesn't, but your vote tonight doesn't expend any funds.
Correct.
It's simply approving the use of these funds for this project.
Yes.
So we allocate these funds to this project.
You're giving us permission to use these funds,
Because of the amount.
Okay.
So I heard someone.
Let me actually rephrase that.
Okay.
You're not allocating any funds tonight, and you're not allowing the board or directing the board or administration to utilize any funds. You're approving the project of them going forward and accepting bids from vendors with the notion and understanding that if that's accepted and you ultimately approve it, it will be the use of the capital outlay funds. But we're not allocating funds tonight.
Yeah, because I saw in here where it's gonna be like 3 bids,
Yeah,
correct?
you have to go through this.
So, who will be bringing those bids back to the table?
Mr. Britton, we'll start with those, and then we'll bring them to the board.
So the motion that we would need tonight is a general approval
Right.
of moving forward with this project.
Are there any more questions? Okay. So if not, then at this time, I am asking for approval to move forward with this project to work on the tennis courts at West Hope Middle School.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the capital funding to move forward on the project.
No, the funding.
Madam Chair, it's
The
not,
funding is to move forward on the project. Is there a second?
there's
I
not a
move-
motion. It's not a motion. The motion hasn't been made yet. You're just asking for a motion.
I move to request the use of the capital outlay fund balance.
We have to make a
And
motion.
Ms. McRae, that's not the motion that's needed tonight. What's
What's the
needed is a motion to approve the project as presented by administration.
I move to approve the project as presented by the administration.
And just-
I second.
All all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So now, next on the agenda is the administration. I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Deborah Dallas.
So Madam Chair and members, we have 4 information items for this evening. Information item A is an update on the most recent Leandro ruling. We have invited Ms. Melanie Dubus from Parker Poe to speak about what the most recent opinion means and what may happen next. So nearly 30 years ago, Parker Poe began representing public school students in their fight to ensure that all families have access to a sound education in North Carolina. Ms. Dubus is the lead Parker Poe litigation practice group. So at this time, we'll ask Ms. Melanie Dubus to please provide this overview.
Thank you, Dr. Dallas. Madam Chairman, board members, the first thing that I have to say to you is congratulations, because as a board, you have been in this fight for as long as I have, and you've won again. And I want to, especially for the new board members who may not be familiar with the long history, give you just a little bit of sort of history of the case, what happened most recently, and again, what that might mean going forward. So these are just some of the quotes in the most recent Supreme Court opinion, which came out on November 4th, where the Supreme Court again found that the state was not providing a constitutional sound basic education to all children in North Carolina. The state affirmed the trial court's order, making the state do that, and ultimately said, as I think we can all agree on here, that public education is a public good. The case started in, go ahead, next slide. Yeah, the case was filed in 1994. That's a copy of the very first page of the complaint. People ask, why is it called the Leandro case? If you look, the very first name that's listed there is Kathleen Leandro. I guess she still is a parent of an adult child. Now, in 1994, she was the parent of an 8th grader in Hope County, Rob Leandro. And Ms. Leandro, as well as other parents in this community and parents in Vance, Hope, Halifax, and Vance, Halifax, Cumberland, and Robson counties as well, and the school boards themselves all came together to file this lawsuit alleging the way that the state was funding the schools was not equitable to counties like Hope County and Halifax and Northampton and those smaller rural counties when you compared the resources that are available here to the resources that are available, for example, in Wake County or Mecklenburg County. That was essentially the allegation of the lawsuit. Next slide. And that allegation comes from our state constitution. North Carolina is unique, somewhat unique, in that we hold, as a state, we hold education in such high regard that back in the 1800s, the founders of the state put it in the Constitution. It's in the Declaration of Rights that every child, all the people of North Carolina have the right to the privilege of education. And it is the duty of the state to guard and maintain that right. So the case has been to the Supreme Court 3 times. The first time was in 1997, when the Supreme Court looked at that constitutional language and said, yeah, that right means not just that there's a school building and it's open 9 months out of the year. That right is the right to a qualitative education, to a sound basic education. The right to education in North Carolina is an education that will give children the opportunity to compete on an even level with children from other states, and it will give children the opportunity to succeed, to be what we now call college and career ready. We didn't have that language back in 1994, but that's essentially what the Supreme Court ruled back in 1997, is that a sound basic education is one that provides a certain level of quality education to all students. And so in 1997, the Supreme Court said, well, this is what it is. We've defined it. We're going to send it down to the trial court. Again, there were 5 counties that brought the lawsuit, but Judge Howard Manning decided that he would focus on Hope County as being a representative county of the other counties. So there was a lot of evidence taken about Hope County, about the system, about funding, about the funding, the inputs that were coming into the educational system, as well as outputs in terms of test scores on integrated in-course tests, college admissions, et cetera. And Judge Manning ultimately concluded from the evidence that no, the state of North Carolina was not providing resources that were necessary for Hope County students to get that quality education. That went back to the Supreme Court, and in 2004, next slide. Yeah, 2004, the Supreme Court again affirmed, and in other words, we won in 1997, we won in 2004 again. And the court affirmed that the state had the duty, it was not meeting its duty, and in addition to defining what does a sound basic education mean, the court went even a little further, got more detailed, and said, you know that there's a sound basic education when there is a licensed, qualified, well-trained teacher in every single classroom across the state of North Carolina. When there is a competent, trained principal in every school in North Carolina. And when every school in North Carolina has the resources to meet the needs of the children in that school, and that might be different. You know, that looks different in Hope County than it does in Wake County, than it does in Northampton County, than it does in other places. But the state's obligation is to provide the resources that schools need to educate their children in their schools. And importantly, the Supreme Court in 2004 said, this constitutional obligation, the duty, the state can't shirk that responsibility. The state can't blame the local commissioners for not providing enough money. The state can't blame Dr. Dallas for her hiring decisions. The state can't blame teachers. The state can't blame parents. It is the state's constitutional duty to provide those resources. And that's what the Supreme Court held in 2004. So having found that, then the case went back to the trial court and said, okay, we've got a violation of the Constitution. What are you going to do about it, the state defendants? And initially, we felt like we've made a whole lot of progress. In 2004 to 2009, there's about $1 billion of additional educational funding that came as a specific result of the Leandro case. The DSSF fund, which I know y'all are familiar with, the Disadvantaged Students Supplemental Fund, DSSF, that was created in 2004, 2005, after the Supreme Court opinion and directly in response to that opinion. Also, you can see here, focus on teacher recruitment and teacher retention. And in those 5 years, again, about $1 billion was directed to public education. And then we all know what happened next, right? The Great Recession. And we won't dwell on the bad times, but there was a lot of cuts in funding, cuts of teaching assistants. Some training programs were eliminated altogether. Funding sources were eliminated altogether. Teacher shortage, which was starting to come to light then, that we heard about earlier tonight, got worse during that time period. And so at the end of 2015, having seen us, take so many steps backwards after having taken steps forward, on behalf of the board and the plaintiffs, we went to the court and asked the court to order the state to put together a comprehensive plan. So for years, we had had sort of fits and starts. We had the DSSF, that was great. Judge Manning would hold hearings and he'd say, well, talk to me about reading programs. Shouldn't there be like a great reading program that can help? And he was looking for a silver bullet. But by 2015, the court and the parties, including the state defendants, had figured out it's complicated, right? Recruiting and retaining teachers is not just about money. It's about leadership. It's about resources. It's about facilities. It's about the children that they teach. It's about teachers having sufficient training to be prepared when they get to the classroom. It's all sorts of things that go into those teachers, principals, resources. So next slide. So, and again, what we saw, on the ground was that in 2015, there were more children at risk with fewer resources than there had been in 2004 when we won the case. Go ahead. Next slide. So at that point, 2015, the court really sort of took control of coming up with a remedy. The court had deferred to the state and the State Board of Education to bring forward a remedy, and the court said, no, I've given you enough deference. This is a constitutional violation that we're talking about here. Let's start looking more specifically at a legal solution. Go ahead. So a new judge was appointed. Judge Manning reached mandatory retirement age, and Judge David Lee from Union County was appointed. And Judge Lee looked at the case and said, wow, in 20 years, nobody could figure this out. Maybe we need to get an expert. Maybe we should ask some experts, both in the state and outside of the state, what a comprehensive plan would look like. And so Judge Lee appointed an organization called West Ed. They've worked with school systems all over the country for many years, and they came and studied North Carolina. I think Dr. Dallas talked to them specifically. Some of her cabinet members talked to them. They were all across the state talking with superintendents and teachers and parents and families. And they came up with recommendations that then were presented to the court as, this is the comprehensive remedial plan that, in our expert opinion, can solve constitutional violation. And Judge Lee said, I agree. I order the state to do that. So that happened right before COVID. So the first year of the plan is an 8-year plan. Because again, this is lots of components, lots of moving parts that build on each other. But by the second year, go ahead, let's go to the next slide. So by 2021, the state had flushed out, not just the first year, but the full 8 years of the plan, and came back to the court and said, yeah, we've got this great plan, and as soon as the legislature appropriates the money to fund the plan, we're ready to go. And Judge Lee said, all right, well, we'll see what happens. So he had a hearing in August, he had his hearing in September, and again, he had a hearing in October. And the legislature did not pass a budget until later in November. So you go to the next slide. Yeah, and then, so on November 10th, Judge Lee said, okay, we've waited long enough. The state of North Carolina has been violating the constitutional rights of children since 1994, and it's 2021, and I'm going to enter an order. I order that years 2 and 3 of the plan be implemented. I find that there is a budget surplus. We had a surplus at that time, and I'm ordering the executive branch to transfer that money to DPI, to DHHS for early childhood, and to the university system for teacher training. And I'm ordering that be done now. Well, as you might imagine, that resulted in a couple things. Number one, another appeal. So that was appealed, and at this point, Linda Combs was the controller of the state of North Carolina. She had not been specifically involved in the case, but she got involved in the case. And then none of the legislative members directly had been involved in the case because the state of North Carolina was the defendant, but Senator Berger, Representative Moore intervened in the case at that time. And that's what ultimately resulted in the November 4th opinion. Those who came in and intervened, the legislative interveners, argued to the court that, education funding is in the province of the legislature. And what the November 4th opinion said, yep, initially it is. It is in the province of the legislature, and ideally, the legislature and the executive branches would come together and solve this constitutional violation. But ultimately, the court is the branch of government that enforces the Constitution, and that the court can order that a constitutional violation be remedied. So because the budget had come up, there were some calculations done as to, okay, of those years 2 and 3, what is still left to fund? And these are just some examples of how detailed the plan is in year 2 when it comes to, again, teachers, principals, resources. Next slide. Turning around at-risk districts and schools, early education, expanding pre-kindergarten and early education opportunities. They're the alignment, the career and college ready, another factor in the plan. We'll skip through the next couple of, Again, lots of details all available. And these are the funds that the state estimated would be required to accomplish the plan. Go forward. And then when the budget was passed in 2021, the court looked and said some of it was funded, a lot of it wasn't. So the delta is still about $600,000 or $700,000. Okay. This is, and so what does that mean? Let's get down to the important part. Ms. Chavis, this is the money part. Okay, this is you. This is a chart that an organization, nonprofit organization, has put together for each school district. This is the Hope County. This is the estimated financial impact of the total 8-year comprehensive remedial plan for Hope County. And those numbers are really teeny tiny, but you can see some of the percentage changes. The funding for disadvantaged children will increase 112%. Supports educational and school support personnel, teachers, school psychologists, nurses, social workers. That funding will increase 210%. Each of the board members has the same organization put together sort of a one-page summary, if you will, with, again, summarizing what they estimate over the course of 8 years, what this means to the children in Hope County in terms of funding. Again, it focuses on some of the things that I have heard you all talking about tonight, right? It focuses on recruiting and retaining teachers, excellent teachers and principals. It focuses on getting resources to the children and the children who need those resources the most. So what happens next? Notwithstanding the fact that y'all have won this case now 3 times, again, congratulations, 3 times, that it goes on. There were some changes in the budget last summer in the short session, and so the trial judge is going to do a little mathematical calculation as to, again, what's left in years 2 and 3. But then there's also years 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And yeah, again, there is a Supreme Court order right now. That order says that Hope County and the children of Hope County have a constitutional right to this plan, to these remedies, to this funding. And unless and until the Supreme Court says otherwise, that is the law of the land. I don't think it's going to be that easy to execute or to collect on that judgment, if you will. There are some legal procedural issues that could cause delay. Again, there's a question of what happens, in the future if the legislature doesn't fund years 4, 5, 6, and 7. And this actually remains an active litigation, and so more to come. But from the board's perspective, from your perspective, I would take the position that you've won, that the Supreme Court has ruled in the favor of Hope County and the children of Hope County in North Carolina, that this plan has to be funded, and that you're ready, willing, and able to make the best use of those funds in the best interest of the children. Congratulations. Does anybody have any questions? Dr. Dallas kept me on a short leash, but I have a few minutes for questions, Deborah.
So no money so far.
I'm sorry.
So no money so far.
Not so far. At the Office of Budget Management is standing by with a pen ready to stroke the check to y'all, but not so far.
Okay.
Thank you so
We
much.
appreciate your time. Okay, so information item B is an overview of the fall 2022 Board of Education policies that were released by the North Carolina School Board Association. This month, the policies will be presented as information only and will then be moved to action items at our next board meeting. So I'd like to first start off with the table that is prepared by the North Carolina School Board Association. So basically, we get 2 updates each year. We have a fall and a spring update. So right now, we're trying to work through our fall updates. As you go through the table, you'll find that some of our policies were actually pulled in last month in November and October to go ahead and update those. So those you will not really have to pay attention to at this point as we're doing a first read because they have already been approved. So basically in that column, it will tell you kind of what the recommendations are, what the required changes are, just so you can see what is actually being recommended from the North Carolina School Board. And we are part of that organization, so we do follow their policy. Their attorneys have vetted those policies, making sure that they are sound and will hold up in a court of law. So Ms. Bounds, if you will now go to that document. So as board members, as you begin reviewing these policies, we have tried to identify a point of contact for you. So if you are reading one of the policies and you have specific questions, what does this mean? Can you explain this to me a little bit more? Any conversation you want to have around that policy, we have listed those. So some of the board policies in our 2000 series, I would be able to answer. 3000 technology in the educational program, that's policy 3220, that would be Dr. Ramsour. Skipping down 3460, which includes graduation requirements, that would be Dr. Register. So we want to make sure that you have a point of contact
that you can reach out to. You can call them, you can email them, say, hey, I want to sit down and let's go through these to make sense. You're more than welcome to do that. So we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So if you go up to the top of that document, you will actually find all of the policies that we have included on that chart. We've put the policies in this folder that have the strikeout. So you will actually see what the changes are. So you can see what the old policy was, and you can see the recommended changes for the new policy. You want to just open one of those maybe, Ms. Downs?
Sure.
Okay, that one probably doesn't have a whole, that's a policy, it doesn't have a whole lot of changes. The graduation doesn't have a whole lot, say that again, Karen?
4,300.
4,300 does.
Student behavior policies. And the footnotes at the bottom too are somewhat helpful because it will give you the context as well. But some of them you'll see that they're very minor changes, but our intent right now is to try to get all of our policies updated to the most recent policy that the School Board Association has on file.
I would, if I could,
Yeah.
Dr. Dallas, also the policies that you all adopt do not need to be entirely aligned necessarily with the School Boards Association. So sometimes their recommendations are just that, the recommendations. Sometimes they're required by law. So if there's policies that are in here that you have further questions on, or you're not certain that you support the recommendations, you can certainly take those back to administration. This is actually, in my opinion, the most important work that the board can do is actually addressing policies. So if there's a need to dive deeper into any of these policies, that's certainly an option.
And so if there's that need comes up, start with your contact person, and then that will come to us and then to the chair. We'll kind of work through that, how we want to move forward. Okay. Okay. No further questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dallas.
Information item C is an overview of the Fly 5 curriculum, which has been piloted and adopted in the district. At this time, let me ask Dr. Peggy Owens, the Executive Director of Student Support Services, to share this information.
Madam Chair and members of the board, Madam Superintendent, good evening.
Good evening.
We just wanted to provide you a brief overview of the Fly 5 social emotional learning curriculum, which is what we are sharing in Hope County schools. We plan to implement it. However, next slide. The reason why, our why, is because of our school mental health policy. And that is dictated to us by the state of North Carolina that was passed November 2021. So that is the primary reason. Fly 5 is a comprehensive K-8 curriculum. It also focuses on responsibility, equity, diversity, and inclusion. This past summer, we did a small or a soft rollout of the Fly 5 curriculum. And these are some of the comments our students learn to take ownership and action for their behavior, how to regulate their feelings, also to be more cooperative, to demonstrate self-control, to be respectful and responsible. The curriculum is also, when we talk about being transparent, there is a school-to-home connection that we're very pleased with. In addition to that, all of the elementary schools, they have it in their school improvement plan as well as our middle schools. It's also aligned to standards and it is research-based. And so Fly 5, there's 5 competencies: cooperation, assertiveness, responsibility, empathy, as well as self-care. And it is aligned with CASEL, which is the standard for social emotional learning. And that CASEL stands for Collaborative for Academic Social Emotional Learning. So that is like the star standard when you're dealing with social emotional competence. So we're just going to just take a look. You all have access to this, but just so you can take a look at the curriculum. Okay, so if you notice the tabs across, it'll tell you why social emotional, but there's also professional development for our teachers and those persons that will be implementing the curriculum is 30 hours. But we want you to just kind of take a look at the characters. One of the things that, if you as she's doing that, let me just talk a little bit about the characters. One of the things that we really liked about this curriculum is that the characters, they grow with the students. So in other words, from kindergarten through 8th grade. So they have an opportunity as we see young people grow up and make various decisions about their emotions. We see the same kind of thing that takes place in this curriculum. So it's very user and student oriented. There's a section in there that deals with the home connection. There's a newsletter, and that newsletter actually goes home. And so parents are also actively engaged with the learning along with their students. Well, actually, we had some technical difficulties.
It looks like something with the actual site is not.
Okay, so we'll just move back to the presentation. And I think you guys, if you have a question, you can always get in contact with me. I think we'll be able to access it individually. The next slide, please. So because 5.5 focus on K-8, so what are we doing for pre-K in grades 9-12? So for our pre-K, those social emotional practices, learning practices involve welcoming, inclusion, engagement. We do morning meetings. We also have various social emotional strategies and social stories and optimistic closure and reflection that's implemented in the classroom. For grades 9-12, we have a EverFi platform. It's a module that students can actually go into, and there are different modules that they can engage in. We also do peer mediation, and we have check and connect strategies that's utilized at the high school level. So what's next? We have purchased the curriculum. The curriculum has been purchased, so the next steps are professional development for those persons who would be implementing it at each of the schools. And then we will move to implementation. And then also we are looking to identify an assessment tool so that we can utilize that with our students in terms of identifying, all of the students will be a part of it from some manner. But also we will be able to tier our students like tier 1, 2, and 3 as well. But we did want to just share with you where we are with this social emotional curriculum, but feel free to reach out to me if you have any additional questions.
So our information item D is your monthly financial report. If you have any questions, you can direct them to our finance officer, Ms. Juanita Chavis. So Madam Chair and members, that concludes our informational items for this evening.
So I need someone to make a motion to, for the closed session.
The board entered into a closed session under North Carolina legal statutes 143-18-2011 to permit disclosure of company personnel matters, to consider matters related to additional employment of individual employees, and to consult with the board's attorney to resolve the attorney-client.
Madam Chair, we need a second.
I second.
So we have a motion, we have a motion on the floor, and it was moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Can we have a 5-minute recess?
Okay, so, we're having a closed session at this time, so we're gonna allow 5 minutes for, those of you to learn, leave at this time.